Hey, agorists. Welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I have coming in from the Las Vegas area in Nevada, J Neil Schulman. He originally wrote a book that's quite well known in libertarian circles alongside Knight in 1979, so a long time ago. And he's just recently, last year, put it out in movie format, and it's just about to be released in various other formats, including DVD and video on demand and all that sort of a thing. All very exciting, and he's been around Liberty Movement for a long time. I've seen him at numerous events, and we're going to talk all about all that kind of stuff, and including agorism and things like that. But before we get into all of that, I have to ask you, Neil, how did you become an anarchist?
I became an anarchist because my mom did the Sunday New York Times crossword puzzle. And one day she said, "Hey, your favorite author is on the cover of the Times Magazine section." And it was an article called New Right Credo Libertarianism by Stan Lair and Louis Rossetto Jr. This is the same Louis Rossetto Jr. who later founded and ran Wired magazine. And I read the article, and when I started college a few months later, I started my own libertarian group on campus, and then wrote away to the Society for Individual Liberty in Philadelphia, and they wrote me back and told me about regular meetings of the New York Libertarian Association in the apartment of Gary Greenberg, who was a libertarian, but also he was a deputy prosecutor for New York City for the borough of Queens. So went to Gary Greenberg's living room, where I met Samuel Edward Konkin III, who wanted to talk to me because he believed in British libertarian Chris Thames' idea of libertarian alliance among college campus groups, and I already had one. And within a short time, I ended up collating, folding, and stapling Sam's magazines, writing for them. We started a great friendship, which lasted until his passing in 2004, starting in New York City when he was a grad student at NYU. And in conversations with Sam, and I should also credit Robert Lefebvre, I was convinced of the principles which made, as far as I was concerned, government not only necessary, but entirely detrimental.
Yeah, absolutely. It is entirely detrimental. And you've the Alongside Night's really interesting book and movie. It's really focuses on a lot of the things that I talk a lot about the coming collapse of the U.S. government. It goes into how the government tries to retain their control, how they start rounding up people who aren't going along with what they want, and all that sort of thing. So for people who are interested in I always get this question, what's going to happen when the dollar collapses? Because, of course, I write the Dollar Vigilante, and that's what I talk about all the time over there. And I think this is one sort of dystopian novel which sort of looks at what could happen, and it's very interesting for that reason. Why don't you tell people a little bit about the book and how it progressed into the movie?
Well, just to start off with, I need to, if not correct, at least challenge a statement that you made that Alongside Night is dystopian. It's dystopian if you're a statist.
I was just reading that off Wikipedia, by the way, so and I didn't formulate that idea in my own mind. I was just sort of reading it off. But yeah, go ahead. I agree with you.
Yeah. So what Alongside Night is about, in the macro sense, is about the transition from the collapsing statist economy to the burgeoning and growing counter economy, a concept which Samuel Edward Konkin III and I first put forward at two conferences that I ran at a summer camp owned by relatives of mine, my father's brother and sister, called CounterCon 1 and CounterCon 2, in which the principles of counter-economics were first put forward by Sam Konkin. And the second one, we also had Bob Lefebvre come and lecture to us. So that was the first, where we really got going on it. Then Sam and I moved out to California, and on our drive across, which went by way of the RiverCon Science Fiction Convention and friends in Kansas City, we outlined the book Counter Economics, tried to sell it through my literary agent, were unable to do so. So Sam eventually ended up writing the New Libertarian Manifesto, in which he first put forth the principles of agorism, and I ended up taking those principles and writing my novel Alongside Night, which came out first. So in essence, the first time that agorism hit the mass market was in my fictional novel, my projection, and then a year later, Sam's New Libertarian Manifesto did it. So we sort of like reversed the process a little bit as far as how Ayn Rand did it.
Yeah, it's really interesting for people who enjoy all this sort of things like agorism, anarchism. The book and the movie are really outspoken about these sort of things. They don't. It doesn't really. It's not like subtle. It's very like in your face. They talk directly about agorism, about all the things that we tend to talk about around here.
I need to point out that over the years, I had always thought that Alongside Night should be a movie. In fact, I wrote my first draft of the screenplay in 1978, a year before the novel came out in bookstores. But now, Alongside Night is not only the original novel, which is out in a new movie edition, but also it's a movie, which we previewed in 2013 and then released via the Tug crowdsourcing system into theaters in 2014. I am right now in the process of finalizing all the extra features for the Blu-ray and DVD and on-demand and streaming editions, which we hope to have on the market with by the end of this spring. And there's also a graphic novel, and there's an audiobook. So, I mean, there is virtually no means that somebody who's interested in finding out about agorism in a dramatic form can't.
Yeah, that's great. I spoke at Libertopia a year or two ago, and my speech was how to start a multi-million-dollar agorist business. But the truth of it was, and I said this right at the beginning of my speech, I don't fully understand the philosophy or the definition of agorism completely. I've never just fully looked into it. For me, it's just all about voluntary transactions, which I think is essentially what agorism is about. But is there more to agorism than just that?
Well, yes, and it's interesting that as part of the preparation for the DVD Blu-ray extra features, I just watched a 2-hour lecture that Sam Konkin, Sec3 for short, gave at the Agorist Institute in the 1990s, in which he basically says that even the feudal system was a counter-economic or agorist response to the remaining empires, the competing empires. And when you get into modern times, the very first ideological state was the United States. It was the first one founded on ideology as opposed to ethnicity or territory or something like that. And the struggle between the Federalists and Anti-Federalists, even at that time, was about whether government was necessary or at least inevitable. In terms of the attempt to protect individual human rights, as stated most eloquently, as far as I'm concerned, in the Declaration of Independence drafted by Thomas Jefferson and ratified and enacted by the Continental Congress on July 4, 1776. So, agorism is, in essence, a revolutionary strategy for moving from a status-dominated society to a freer society. I'm not saying one in which there are no states anymore, but one in which states no longer are able effectively to control everybody's economic and social life. So agorism is the idea that the means and the ends have to be consistent, that you can't use coercive means to achieve a non-coercive or voluntarist end. Agorism is the total strategy and tactics to counteract the Marxist-Leninist revolutionary model. We take much more out of the idea of jiu-jitsu, of stepping out of the way of attacks and being resilient and creating marketplaces which are resilient and survivable, and individual lives which are resilient and survivable, because we make it very expensive for the state to pursue.
Very interesting, and I, of course, support all of that. I'm just looking at Wikipedia under agorism, and it says that it was first proposed, of course, by Samuel Edward Konkin III in 1975, and it says something about market anarchists here, and I've heard this term a few times, and I've seen it used so many different ways, market anarchists, and I don't know, to you, is that the same as a free market anarchist? Because I would definitely say I'm a free market anarchist, but I've heard some sort of socialist sounding people use the term market anarchist lately. I don't know what all these terms get so used by different people for different ways. What's your opinion on that?
Well, as long as there is a system by which property rights can be enacted and respected, it really doesn't matter whether or not you're talking about a communal approach or a syndicalist approach or an individualist Rothbardian approach. They're all consistent as long as everybody is in agreement to leave force out of the initiation of enterprises and to arrive at some sort of means of settling disputes through arbitration, in which nobody has sovereign immunity and nobody can claim collateral damage as an immunity.
Yeah, it's all very interesting. I also don't have a problem if people like socialism or even communism, as long as they don't force it on me. And if they have a bunch of their friends who all want to do it, go ahead. I don't care. But the problem with a lot of these anarcho-communists is they seem to think that and they call themselves anarchists, so they say, oh, we're going to get rid of the government, but then we're going to make you be communists. Well, I don't see how that makes you an anarchist if you want to force people to.
Well, look, having lived in a townhome complex with CC&Rs and a homeowners association, I can tell you that there was no Soviet anywhere in the world, no Soviet, no Revolutionary Council, which was more oppressive than the homeowners association with their CC&Rs.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it myself too. It's all these sort of collective associations just always turn into a nightmare for the most part.
I need to tell you just one funny anecdote. My dad, in his final days, was living with us in that townhome, and he had a bed in which a little skylight window was putting light exactly in the wrong place when he wanted to take an afternoon nap. And so he put a little hand pillow in that window to try to block out the sunlight. And we got a legal notice from the Homeowners Association that we were violating the architectural guidelines of the CC&Rs because we had an improper window dressing.
Wow. Just amazing what some people waste their time on, getting into just tiny little things to bother the people with. Yeah, but I think there's another saying too about just try to, if you have two roommates, and just try to order a pizza and just see how well having a collective sort of works out. It just never fully works out.
Oh, listen, I lived for 10 years in what was called the Anarcho Village in Long Beach, California, along with Sam and other libertarians, some of whom had moved out from New York City with us. And trying to agree on a movie or a restaurant was always a negotiation that was worthy of one of Marx's internationals.
Yeah, good times with Marxism. It seems to me like Marxism and communism seems to be gaining more hold lately. Have you seen that as well, or what's your take on that?
No, I mean, Marx is the most famous economist in human history. He outpaces Adam Smith by quite a bit. Marxist revolutions have been the standard revolutionary model, from the Russian Revolution on. Although Marx goes back to the time of the American Civil War. But I would argue, and here's part of my optimism, that we are going to see Konkinist revolutions on the agorist model outpace Marxism and replace it. And since Sam passed in 2004, his reputation has only grown and exploded outward.
Yeah, but I'm actually about to write an article on Brazil. There's been, if you go to Brazil on Facebook, they actually have I believe it's a Mises organization, Mises.Brazil or whatever it is, BZ, that has hundreds of thousands of likes in Brazil. And they just recently had this major protest with hundreds of thousands of people showed up, and a lot of them were holding up capitalism signs and all that sort of thing. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people sort of waking up to how things could be a lot better if government got out of the way.
Well, look, I've just had to make choices about what foreign translations for captions I could afford to put on the DVD and Blu-ray. And I chose Spanish and French as the two alternate languages to, obviously to the native language English, because first of all, that gives me all of North America, and it gives me a good deal of Central and South America as well. So I would have loved to have had Mandarin and Russian and Arabic and Farsi and Hebrew and a bunch of other languages, but can't afford it. And actually, there's also actual physical limitations to the number of caption tracks you can have on these things.
Yeah, well, if you do want some more, this is another way that people can get involved. And I've actually said this many times in the past. If you speak a different language other than English, especially if it's something more obscure like Farsi, well, not that it's obscure, but not a lot of people that I know speak that language, go out there and translate some of these things. Translate some books like Jorge Trucco, a past Anarchast guest, translated The Market for Liberty into Spanish and is now doing very well and is being passed around all throughout Latin America and really inspiring a lot of change. New
Libertarian Manifesto has been translated into a bunch of languages, and you could find those translations on the website of the Center for a Stateless Society, c4ss.org. No, pardon me, C4, and also agorism.info. Agorism.info is the go-to place for all these translations of the New Libertarian Manifesto. But let me point out that the advantage of having a movie in English, French, and Spanish is that the British, the French, and the Spanish were world champions at colonialism, and that gives us lots of residue populations which still know those languages.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a big opportunity to do something like that. So maybe if someone wants to contact you to translate into, how many, do you have any more tracks that you can fill up? How many, what's the maximum?
Right. I don't know what the maximum is, but I think that it starts getting complicated with a lot of software when you go beyond three caption tracks.
Okay.
And that's our English, Spanish, and French.
Okay.
I did have one of my Facebook friends offer to put it into Esperanto for me, but I'm not sure how many cells we'd actually make by adding that caption.
Yeah, I don't know how Esperanto is doing. Of course, that was a language that was made up, I forget when, quite a while ago, and it was sort of supposed to be the international language, and it was supposed to be the easiest way for everyone to learn a language, because actually language is a real big reason that we're kept apart around the world, because we just can't communicate, although that's all changing thanks to the internet and Google Translate and all these sort of things. Yeah, I don't know how well Esperanto is doing. Never met anyone who spoke it.
I should say, having seen a number of machine translations, that they do get quite amusing.
Yeah, they are getting better, though. I remember watching like 5 years ago with the machine translation, and it was just a mess. You couldn't even figure out what it was trying to say. And it's actually getting a lot better with the technology. But of course, the government's also using this technology to record every single thing we're saying and put it all into databases. So as with all things with technology, it always has a good and a bad, and the bad is always government.
Oh, listen, I've been assuming for a long time that in every conversation I've had on the phone, every email that I've sent, every Facebook discussion, that I am an unpaid consultant for the NSA.
Yeah, we all are, and we're just discovering now that it's not just the U.S. is doing it. There's so many different countries. Canada has been doing it. That just sort of came out recently, that they've been doing a lot of the same things as the NSA, and Britain's been doing it, of course, with the most surveillance cameras in the world per capita in London. And now the Scotland Yard wants to actually get people to put surveillance cameras inside their own homes for their own protection, of course, because it'll help them if they ever have a problem or something. But yeah, it's getting pretty wild out there. Yeah, very interesting stuff. For anyone who hasn't seen Alongside Night or read the book, definitely check it out. It's we don't have a lot of real works of fiction that are drama or whatever you want to call it, not nonfiction, that really are this outspoken. Even things like Ayn Rand's stuff with Atlas Shrugged and all that wasn't quite as outspoken about what it's really trying to get across as Alongside Night. So,
if I could claim any championship at all here, I'd like to put forward the thought that there is one and only one radical libertarian agorist narrative movie, and that's Alongside Night. If you could find me another, I'll eat a bug.
Yeah, most of the ones that you could say have that message, like you can even say Lord of the Rings, written by JRR Tolkien, who said he essentially was an anarchist, and the Ring of Power. I think he never fully said it, but I think it was to represent power as government, and all those guys coming in black and destroying the Shire, which was a nice little anarchist community.
I'm not going to argue it's the only pro-anarchist movie.
Right.
Okay. Now, even V for Vendetta, which was a watered-down version of the original graphic novel, and in which the anarchism was just cut right out of the movie, even that has a lot of anti-government contact. There's no shortage of movies with anti-government contact. But having the explicit agorist strategy portrayed, that's alongside Night and only alongside Night.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've never seen anything like it. It's definitely, you'll enjoy it if you're an anarchist and if you're an agorist or anything like that, just because it's so outspoken about it. It's really interesting. What's next for you? I know you're putting out these video on demand. Maybe you can let people know where they can get more information, where they can see the film, and anything more that you want to let them know.
Well, the one website which is must to give out is alongsidenightmovie.com, because that links to everything else, and it's where all the announcements will be of where to get everything. So alongsidenightmovie.com, alongsidenightmovie.com. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com alongside night movie. We've got a Twitter feed, twitter.com alongside night. And I blog on Rational Review, J Neil Schulman at Rational Review. I'm the easiest person to track down on the web. I make it so easy. The NSA doesn't even need to tap anything to find anything, because I publish pretty much everything. Yeah, I do the same too, and so I don't really try to hide anything I'm doing, because it's already all out there, and I'm basically saying exactly how I feel every day on the interwebs. So if they don't like it, they can come and get me. But yeah, so definitely check that out. Support all the people doing these sort of things. That's what we really need to do, as well as just support, spread it. We're not just a documentary or a small indie film with no stars. We have Kevin Sorbo from the #1 1990s worldwide series Hercules to Legendary Journeys, which outpaced even Baywatch. We have Garrett Wang and Tim Russ from Star Trek Voyager. We have Gary Graham from the Alien Nation TV series and Fox series of TV movies, and he was also Ambassador Soval on Star Trek Enterprise. We have Mara Marini, who played Brandy Max on Parks and Recreation. Valence Thomas from Men in Black 3. Saeed Faraj, who played opposite Matt Damon in Paul Greengrass's movie about the invasion of Iraq, Green Zone. So, we have a lot of stars in the movie, and I myself have a little bit of a part in it as well. It's definitely a fun, action-packed movie. Which is crammed full of every Easter egg for libertarian and jokes that you could possibly think of. That's great. And were any of these actors, are they on board with sort of the message of the movie, or are they mostly just taking a paycheck to do it? The ones who were close to the point of view of the movie are Kevin Sorbo. He's more of a conservative than libertarian, but he's independent enough in his thinking that he did this movie as a labor of love. And then also Gary Graham is sort of a libertarian leaning Tea Party type. I think in particular he definitely appreciated all the pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment stuff in the movie. That's great. So yeah, check it out. We got to support each other. There's a lot of movie makers out there now who are anarchists, and hopefully a lot of them sort of get together and work together. A lot of actors, a lot of great people doing great things, and we just need to support each other, get it out there, share it with your friends. And I've just got to say, we have Ron Paul in the movie. Ron Paul had me on his Ron Paul channel show. Promoting the movie. I was also on, and Kevin Sorbo was also on Alex Jones InfoWars promoting the movie. So we have a lot of our own extensions of the libertarian community supporting this movie. That's great, and we'll do our best to also get it out there. And one thing you can do as well is just like, share, subscribe to this channel. That's how you can help us get this sort of messages out there and try to wake up the world to a more peaceful and prosperous future if we can reduce or get rid of altogether government. And so that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.